30 seconds to make a Facebook post.
Would it be easier if I made like this a minute long?
Maybe.
Okay, I could. Okay, cool. Hey there, we're here, we're live. We're doing it. We're doing the thing.
We're here, we're live. We're making show.
We are making show. Boy, Josh, you look a little different today.
No, right?
You forgot your hat. That's what it is.
Yeah,
You forgot your hat.
glasses.
Yeah. No, folks, this is Parker.
It's funny you said his catchphrase too.
I did.
Parker
great.
did. I know, right?
But no, this is Parker. We mention him at the end of every show because he helps us find news stuff and everything.
Thank you. Like my fifth time, I think.
Fourth or fifth, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you pull your mic a little bit closer to your mouth? It's a good mic, but it's got to be a little closer.
Okay, right here.
And you can bring it up so you're not. Yeah. These are good. These are good things.
Excellent.
It is blocking your face.
All right, right here.
Yeah. You can even kind of go like
all right.
that sideways and bring it up the hair.
All right, good,
as long
good,
as you're
good.
talking towards the dot. That's
Okay.
the goal.
Okay,
all right.
cool.
Yeah, we got it. We're good. Okay. So yeah, thank you all for tuning into the show. This is the point where we all hit our social medias and try to drum up a few watchers here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your Twitch app still acting up where it'll start playing a stream and then just kind of stop after a while, even if the stream keeps going?
When I was trying to run it during my stream last night, I couldn't even get the thing to load at all.
Really?
But that might have been me. I don't know. You know what? I'll try #podcasting. That's a different
there we
one.
go. That's
I'll try
that's a little
one.
different. There we go. I'm working on automation for our Blue Sky and Facebook. So when I hit go, it'll just send up an automated message. I know the streaming gods and the social media gods don't like that. They would prefer custom artisanal posts.
Right.
But it's how it is. Okay. So far, it seems in. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. There we are. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, we have a really good show for you all this week. We're going to be talking about some horror movies. Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah. But otherwise, yeah. How you guys been?
I'm doing great so far, thank you.
Yeah. Good.
I'm here.
You're here? All right. I like it. So yeah, just
okay,
as
all posts are up.
Okay, awesome. Very good. So I've moved our test camera from over here on this screen to this one. So now instead of looking over here, looks like I'm looking down constantly instead of at the camera. It's like
you look like you're falling asleep.
I'm just real sleepy. Well, I mean, I am real sleepy, but as always.
Right.
But yeah, so we're going to jump into the recording of the actual show here pretty soon. And as a reminder, we can't really comment on chat while we're doing the show because we have to, at least pretend like we're live on a radio station because we are kind of live on a radio station, sort of. But if we can work a comment into the conversation as we're going along, awesome. And anything major after the show, we'll definitely, roll back through and take a look at stuff. I say this every week, and eventually I'm going to stop prefacing it, but yeah, due diligence and whatnot. Okay, so Cody, do you have
we don't have the audience that's large enough to ignore the chat yet.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly right. Well, listen, if our chat gets big enough, I will design a new layout that has the chat on our whatever, so people can look at it. Right now,
I did that once with my stream layout.
Yeah,
I had a chat on screen. It
I-
wasn't hard to do.
It's not. No, I had one when I was doing my solo stuff with my little PNG tuber guy. I also didn't have a chat big enough for it to actually be worth. I had one. Well, other than Jordan, I had one recurring viewer and chatter. Forget what the guy's name was. Whatever. I think he was some kid from Canada, but from the way it sounded. But
He didn't. He doesn't go to this school.
he
You
doesn't
would
go to
know.
the school. No, definitely not. All right. Well, I think we're about ready to go ahead and jump into it. Cody, do you have an intro? Put you on the spot.
Sure.
As always.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to the bone shattering, thunder clapping, spooky Halloween scaretacular nerd overload episode. Pop and Geek Culture Show. I'm Cody.
I'm Sam.
And my costume is of a depressed man.
Yeah, I'm Sam, and my costume is Batman, but it's one of those old-timey ones where you can get your tongue stuck in the mask, and it cuts your tongue a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah. This week we have a special guest. Parker's here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Parker. He's been with us for quite a long time. He helps us find news and stuff, and a huge horror movie guy.
Indeed.
So that is why he is here. And yeah, we're going to be talking about some horror, some spooky stuff.
Some spook 'em up.
Some spook 'em ups. Yep. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our check 'em outs. Check it out.
It would be super fun to have a theremin cover of that for Halloween.
It would, yeah. Yeah, no, that's yes, yeah. I like it.
And then a thunderclap, and then a
I could maybe put a thunderclap and a laugh in post. If I get motivated, it's going to be right here. Ah, there you go. All right. So yeah, let's get into some things we've been doing. And Parker, you're the man of the hour.
Okay.
Here we go. Let's talk about some movies.
Okay, so as is the standard for October, I'm doing 31 for 31, which is just every day throughout the month of October, watch and review a different horror movie. I'm getting more and more to the point of just trying to make all of them first-time watches just to make it a little interesting. So, a couple of highlights. One of them is Weapons, which came out back in August, I want to say, but was able to rent it on YouTube. And it is the follow-up by Zach Kreger from Whitest Kids You Know, who made Barbarian a couple years ago that really took the scene by storm. And in this case, it's about a small town, Pennsylvania, where, for reasons unknown, an entire class of third graders, save for one kid, just suddenly walk up in the middle of the night and just run away to some undisclosed location. And the town is having, as you can imagine, an entire hysteria about it.
Mm-hmm.
That the visual of like the Ring doorbell cam visuals of kids running out of their house with their arms out is so good. It's so striking.
Oh, yeah. It's told non-linearly, but every perspective adds just enough context to make the little backtracking feel more interesting. And I don't want to get into too much discussion because it's hard to discuss without spoiling it, but it is a nice slow burn that leads to this really wild and intense kind of finale towards the end that, for the most part, really works. It works to its advantage. And I would say a lot of it goes to the acting from Josh Brolin, who's kind of one of the parents, and then I'm blanking on the actual name of the teacher, but she's kind of a flawed character who you root for, but recognize she is absolutely a mess. But aside from that, one of the new ones that came out for the season in streaming is the, I believe, 8th installment of the VHS franchise, this time just titled Halloween.
I need to watch this one.
Yeah,
it's the only one I've not seen.
Yeah, I know Cody, you love the VHS. I know you watch them every one that comes out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since Shudder got them and now does a little bit more quality control compared to when Dread Central held them. But this one is basically another set of like 5 shorts. The wraparound is this supposed like 80s testing video for a new diet spooky themed soda and called Diet Phasma.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah, but basically in between, the test subjects all experience some kind of serious supernatural kind of problems.
Mm-hmm.
But this one has like 5 brand new directors, so there's no returning directors from the past. I would say the best 2 shorts were what was it? Fun Size, which is a group of people just kind of leaving a Halloween party, disappointed, go to this house for trick or treating and see these brand new kind of unknown candies that they pick up. Pick it up, they get sucked into the ballot box, and then find out where the factory is and realize that they are going to be the next candy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I would say that, and probably the best one has to be the last one, which is kind of set in between the late 70s and the early 80s of this father-son duo who have for years been building up this homemade haunted house, and the father is trying to top it and get his son back into the game to try and reconnect with him. And this time, he, in addition to building a more elaborate set, goes to this little thrift goods store and basically shoplifts this vinyl record of all these Halloween soundtracks.
Okay.
Only to start basically playing it and playing on the trope of backmasking, so playing it backwards.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That old shtick.
Yeah,
oh,
but it works because it's in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I might watch this when I get home.
Yeah, it's on Shudder, but you can also view it on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got the Shudder subscription, so
Yeah, it's around the middle of the pack. It's not quite as good as 1, 2, or 94, but it's better than VHS 85 and Viral.
94 was my favorite, I think.
It's tough. It's between that and 2 are the best ones because those have the best batting average for all the short.
The one with Ratma is really good. I love that one.
94.
Yeah. Hail Ratma.
Hail Ratma.
Okay, what are some of the what are some of the stinkers? What are some of the ones that were just not?
Oh,
because you got to have the bad with the good.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you got to tear the Band-Aid off because I know some people really love one of these 2 for nostalgia, but I'm sorry, 13 Ghosts and Ghost Ship do not hold up.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, so 13 Ghosts, the design of the ghost is cool, and
Yes.
it has Matthew Lillard, who couldn't carry a false note if he tried. So, because he can make the dumbest lines sound awesome.
It's funny that
But-
Shaggy is in a movie called 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
Like 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
And the previous one had Vincent Price, the original one.
No. That was
am I
back
thinking?
in. You're thinking House on Haunted Hill.
I'm thinking House of Haunted Hill.
Yeah,
right.
maybe the same studio that we made them.
Well, they look kind of the same.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. The downside is the haunted house isn't really a proper haunted house, and because of how horribly edited and cut it is, a lot of these scare scenes just don't work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, then I love him and Monk, but Tony Shalhoub was not a leading man, and he is far too stupid to be the star of this.
He always seems like he seems like a very high supporting character when it comes to movies. Yeah, he's never really hit that leading man kind of stature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
But Monk was great though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the other stinker was Ghost Ship, which was the second to last movie directed by Stephen Beck, who also directed the 13 Ghosts remake, as I mentioned.
Oh yeah.
It's best known for that intro on a ship where a cable wire just kind of goes rogue and just, slices everyone except one person on the ship.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that very vividly. Yeah.
It's the Final Destination log truck for boats.
Yes.
And cables.
It is. Yeah, but after that, it's just really generic and forgettable. And sadly, even with the great cast it has, including a young Carl Urban, they just can't carry it. It is just forgettable.
Ah, that's a shame.
Yeah. It's pretty, but outside the intro, nothing really worth noting.
Yeah. Speaking of horror movies, we'll kind of bounce back and forth here. We'll get back to yours. I rewatched The Thing. It's been a very long time since I've watched The Thing. I loved it.
Did he say it's clobbering time?
It's something like that. Something like that.
Oh.
I kept thinking the whole movie that Wilford Brimley was going to turn into a bunch of rocks.
Right.
But no,
The
it's
dog was like, it's slobbering time.
perfect.
I sound like I wrote these in advance, but I swear I didn't.
You're just that good.
Yeah.
You're just that good.
So, have you actually heard about the various theories as to who was the Thing at the end?
I ascribe to neither of them. I think in the novelization, Niles does kill himself at the end, the cook.
Yes. Yeah.
In the movie, it's left completely ambiguous. And I go by movie instead of novelization.
Okay.
So I believe that he just took off and he was the thing. And
Childs?
No, not Childs. The cook.
Okay.
Because you don't see where he ends up. Niles is also the one that claims he saw Childs out and about. So I figured he's misdirecting to whatever. I know that there's a theory that McCready either got turned or has been one the whole movie, and he's been kind of like playing a subterfuge thing because, I can kill the other parts of myself because I'm already here.
I know from listening to the Shout Factory Blu-ray commentary between Carpenter and the cinematographer Dean Cundy. Cundy states that you can tell who's the thing because the scene right when they're about to reveal, he takes the catch light off of them. So basically, the light doesn't reflect in their eyes.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Because it happens with all the other guys. Like, it happens to Norris. It happens to all the other guys that become things. And right when Childs comes back, to meet McCready after he destroys the thing, catchlight's not there.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But I also do like the idea that neither of them are the thing, and they're just going to just sit out and just freeze to death because they can't trust each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know the easy answer is it's Childs because he's so antagonistic through the entire film.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Plus, he just disappeared for the finale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I haven't seen the thing in a long time.
It still holds up.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they never did some kind of sequel or prequel or anything like that. It just doesn't exist. You know what?
The prequel has interesting ideas, but it's too much of that time where it was real CG heavy.
Yeah.
There's a game I hear is good.
The story was great. The gameplay was but granted, it was like early PS2 era.
Sure.
There's a Night Dive just remastered it, so that might be better.
Nice.
I know John Carpenter is literally just in it too. He plays a character that looks exactly like him.
Oh, of course.
Excellent. Excellent. Was he just smoking pot and playing video games the entire time? Because that's what he does with his life now. And I can't blame him.
Or he'll just make albums.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Lost themes.
I would love to go to one of his I put in quote, band's concert. Because it's just him sitting at a synthesizer with a backing band, and he just goes through all of the synth music from all of his movies, and a couple of new ones as well. And I've heard they are phenomenal.
Yeah.
If they ever come, they barely ever tour, but if they ever come in the Central Ohio area, I would absolutely go see it without a doubt. All right, let's jump to Cody for a minute.
Well, if we want to keep talking about horror movies, I watched the 2 movies by the director of the what's it called? Bring Her Back.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
I watched Bring Her Back, and then the movie it's 2 brothers that I forget their name. The movie they made beforehand, it was called Talk to Me. But
Talk to Me. Yes, I do know that one.
Bring Her Back was really, really good.
That's on the short list.
It's wild. It's one of those movies where afterwards you're like, man, that was messed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's about a blind girl and her brother that watches over her. Their dad commits suicide, and they have to go live with a foster lady who is up to something.
Okay.
And I don't want to spoil what that is because it earns it. For one, but the whole time, part of the fun is going like, this lady's up to something.
It's hard to talk about horror movies in general because they're all predicated on the twist. They're all predicated on the surprise. And when you're talking to people about horror movies, it's tough to go, "Hey, this is great. Why?"
I can't tell you.
Trust me.
Right. Like maybe you get because of this one actor.
Yeah, that's basically it. But okay, Parker, back to you.
Okay. So aside from going through 31 for 31, I've been revisiting Twin Peaks just because I've been going through David Lynch's catalog after he passed away earlier this year. And
I love Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, it is one of the most unique and weird shows, but it has so much character and heart that you just can't help but love it.
I still need to watch the return episodes.
It's great.
I've not seen them.
I've heard they are, depending on the episode, they run great to pretty okay.
It's also latter-day David Lynch, so he was even more improv heavy than before. So sometimes like, oh, this feels like you guys just kind of were winging on the spot, and sometimes feel like you actually thought this through.
I can't take Michael Cera as a greaser seriously.
Yeah, he's one of those guys.
It's just not cast correctly.
He's one of those guys like Tobey Maguire. He just never quite grew out of his early to mid-20s.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Twin Peaks is great. It's been a grip since I've sat and rewatched it.
I don't think I ever finished the second season, but I felt like
that sounds about right for you, Cody.
I felt like I didn't need to because it was really falling off.
Well, when David Lynch left the show,
Yeah.
it lost its direction.
Yeah, have you ever seen the show he did prior to this, On the Air? It was it only lasted like 5 or 6 episodes. It was more of a comedy with strange, weirdo elements.
I've meant to.
Miguel Ferrer is the lead. The other 2 actors are great, but I have not committed their name to memory.
Mm-hmm.
But it's set in like some nebulous, modern 80s, 50s kind of mix. You know, his style.
Yeah, of course.
Like low-budget television station that you have an old-time film actor that is now a falling star and some extra that gets super famous and things get weirder and weirder and weirder. It only lasted 1 season, but it's what he did maybe like a year or 2 prior to. Okay. It's what got his foot in the door for television.
I'm surprised that a TV station saw that and said, "Okay, do another thing."
Yeah, right.
Well, he also had a bunch of the cachet from Blue Velvet and The Elephant Man.
Yeah. I need to watch The Elephant Man.
Me too.
It's a fantastic movie. I want to say it was Stanley Kubrick and maybe Mel Brooks produced it and basically put their thumb on the scale to let him have full control.
Mel Brooks was a silent producer because he didn't want his name on the film anywhere because they thought
people think it would be a comedy.
If they billed him with being produced by Mel Brooks, everyone would think it's a comedy.
It was the same thing when he did David Cronenberg's The Fly.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't know he was involved with The
Fly.
Yeah,
no, like straight up when he was producing it that one, Fox actually made like silly little kind of bee fly and bee hats because they thought it was gonna be a goofy comedy.
Yeah. Yeah. Mel Brooks, I mean, he's known for comedy. He's an amazing comedian and great director, a great writer. But more than anything, he recognizes good filmmakers and good premises, good films when he sees them.
Absolutely.
And he definitely, he's made more money than God because of, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, what have you. So, like, he can throw around and back smaller projects that are interesting but otherwise may not have been made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Something else. Trying to think. There was a bad horror movie I watched, but
I didn't talk about Talk to Me.
Talk about Talk to Me. Yeah.
Those 2 directors' previous movie. It's about a group of teenagers that have this like mummified hand that they can use to talk to the dead or kind of like let the dead inhabit their body for 90 seconds.
Okay.
And it feels like some sort of analogy for party drug use because they always use it in a group together and then it ruins one girl's life.
Oh.
But it was good. It felt like it was kind of hitting a similar vein as Bring Her Back, but just not as strong.
Mm-hmm. I remember the bad movie I watched, Idle Hands.
Oh, the one with Devin Sawa?
Yes.
That one is definitely a teenager horror comedy.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, that's been on the list for a while, but I felt that was going to be the case.
The only good part that I really liked were the side characters played by Seth Green and one of the Bash brothers from Mighty Ducks, Eldon something or other. He's Foggy Nelson on the Deadpool show. But
Eldon Henson,
that's it. Thank you. But they both die off and are like reanimated zombies cracking jokes. Right. Because they're the main guy's best friends.
Right.
And they're the best part. It's a very teen version of not David Jack from American Werewolf in London, where he's slowly kind of falling apart, and he just kind of shows up from time to time. Yeah. It's same kind of idea, but
with a new metal soundtrack.
Yes, yes.
American Werewolf is so good.
Oh, that's still a top 3. That might be the best horror comedy ever, even more than Shaun of the Dead.
Yes,
probably definitely
put it up there.
The best werewolf movie.
Yeah, that's what I kind of gotta give you that, because that transformation scene is still that's so good. It created the Oscar, I believe, for best makeup.
There was another werewolf movie that I actually quite enjoyed. Oh, there's the fireworks.
I watched The Howling not too long ago, and that sucked.
The one from Joe Dante?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when he was still doing indie before he got Gremlins.
Yeah.
It's goofy as all get out, and it takes way too long for the werewolves to show up.
Which is more than you can say for The Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf.
Oh, that one's great, though.
well, great.
Sybil Danning? Hell yeah.
Well, and also Lord Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Which, that's the story of him being involved in that is still legendary as just to how bad it is.
Oh, sure.
So, yeah. At least that sounds like fun. Mm-hmm. The first Howling thinks it's a lot more fun than it is.
Yeah.
Oh no, the second one still does, but the problem is right when they were getting ready to start shooting, Fox sent them the box of the costumes, and they were supposed to be werewolves. The problem is they were leftover suits from Planet of the Apes.
That's right.
That's right.
And so it was ape suits with wolf faces.
Yeah, it's like Philippe Moore was the director. He's like, oh God, what am I going to do? He looks to Christopher. He's like, Christopher, what can I do? And Christopher basically tells him, like, look, you will pan the camera to me, and I'll just give a monologue about before they become a werewolf, there's an ape phase.
There you go. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Because the werewolf in The Howling kind of looks like the bunny rabbit man from Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Frank the Bunny.
Yeah. Let's see, other werewolf. We're on a roll. We're going to talk about werewolf movies.
Yeah.
Ginger Snaps, I liked to an extent.
I love Ginger Snaps.
I couldn't relate to it as much because I am not a preteen girl going through puberty.
Yeah. So you've never had a period.
I've never had a period, so it's like something is lost. But it was good. There was one, and I cannot. It might have just been Werewolf or Wolf or something like that. It was Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, it was Wolf.
Wolf. I actually, it's a slow burn, and there's not a lot of the transformation and stuff, but I liked that one quite a bit.
I still love every now and again rewatching Dog Soldiers.
Oh, Dog Soldiers!
That one's so great.
Oh, and then if you're getting into the really bad stuff, there's one from Mystery Science Theater called Werewolf.
Werewolf.
Because one of the female lead has East European accent, and she cannot say werewolf to save her life.
Right.
What you mean? You become a werewolf?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's a shot of the werewolf driving a car.
It's fantastic.
In that movie, that's so funny.
Oh yeah, they turn a cop, and he's driving a van. So he's has a old timey policeman's hat and uniform, but he's like,
wow, is that cheap?
Oh yeah. Oh, it is something else. Yeah.
And it has one of Mystery Science Theater's most iconic songs.
Oh, which one is that? I
forget.
The
Werewolf.
That's right. The doo-wop.
Yeah.
The 50s doo-wop. Werewolf. Werewolf. Yeah. Are you over there, Wolf, or something like that?
We'll just play it over the break.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I'll just kind of play it. If I get motivated, I'll play it here. Yeah, okay, let's go back into some other movies. Got anything else? We were talking about through our chat, the Werewolf the Ascension. Right?
Yeah, World of Darkness.
That's the World of Darkness one.
Yeah. Well, it's Werewolf.
The game?
It's Werewolf, the Apocalypse, and Forsaken.
That's the one. Yes. Sorry,
because that was related to the release of this week. The long-awaited Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 finally came out.
Yeah, I've put a decent amount of time into it.
It's decent.
Yeah, it's not as good as the first one, but it's not without merit.
Yeah, the modding, the fan base will mod it into being a more salvaged game like they did the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I just think the pacing is not good is the problem. Because you play as a vampire that has another vampire's mind stuck in yours,
Okay.
and he's a Malkavian 1920s detective.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to play as him in like a memory, and it bogs the pace of the game
really?
down.
Even though
bummer.
they already gave you 6 clans or classes for D&D lingo to play.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and it turns out the class you pick at the beginning doesn't matter anyway because you can learn the skills from
you can
all
just
the
get all
other
of them?
classes anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which really cuts down on specializing your
multi-class
character.
your vampire type.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point of a tabletop or video game RPG
Mhm.
is being able to customize.
Yeah. I hate when games are afraid to lock you out of things
Yes.
because it makes your choices not mean anything if you can just have it all.
That was my biggest issue with Mass Effect Andromeda. You could just swap over to one of the other classes.
Yeah, kind of you lose some of that specialness of the character creation, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of Bethesda games, especially later Bethesda games, are afraid to lock you out of anything. They always want you to feel like you're the most special boy in the universe.
Well, if you're playing an 80-hour game and you don't get all the story, how many people are going to go back and play another 80 hours to get a few extra cutscenes?
I mean, if you design it right to where you have like a whole different moveset or a whole different way to try to tackle these challenges as a different class, that does make the replay value worth it.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3 or Fallout 3 with how you got to choose what classes you specialized in.
Sure.
And thus leveled up faster.
Yeah.
Or even like the original Vampire. I mean, it wasn't super expansive, but you could, depending on what class you picked, you came into situations differently. Or like if you picked a Nosferatu, you couldn't walk around the streets at all. You had to travel through the sewers.
Oh yeah, no boys are best boys.
There is a horror. I think it was a 2-part TV miniseries, 2-part or 4-part.
It's called It.
It's called It. You might have heard of it.
Yeah.
It's got a clown. It's kind of spooky. No. I remember watching it when it was live years and years and years ago. I even think I may have taped it, but it's gone now, and I cannot find a decent transfer of it. Like everything is all like
Stephen King's Rose Red.
Yeah. I was gonna say, wait, is this Rose Red?
No. It was called House of Frankenstein. It was they took the name from one of the old classic films.
Yeah, that's a Hammer movie, I believe.
Okay. But it was set in modern at that time, mid-90s. And it was a Dracula, or not a Dracula, but a vampire. I use the term Dracula and vampire interchangeably. I think it's funny when you call all vampires Draculas. So there was a Dracula, a woman that was slowly turning into a werewolf.
Okay.
And the unthawed, previously frozen, unthawed Frankenstein's monster.
Interesting.
Like they find him. He doesn't call himself Adam, but otherwise he is the one from the Mary Shelley book. Mm-hmm. They find him modern day, much like Captain America.
It's like Captain America Frankenstein.
They find they thaw him. Yeah, unfreeze him.
The first Universal Monster Avenger.
Yeah. Wait, you know what? Cap did turn into a werewolf that one time.
I'm not surprised.
No, yeah. Well, comics.
Right,
Everyone has done everything all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But no, I can't. I've been looking forever. The only halfway decent looking one that I found that is technically 720p, but still 4:3, was someone used AI up-resing, but they turned it on super high, so everything looks like weirdly flat, and like it threw off the lighting. It looks like everything kind of blends together with the background, and like if something moves too quickly, it like jars really hard. Yeah, it did not quite satisfy, but I'm still looking for that one. It was good, if I remember correctly. It's slow, but it was good.
All right.
Yeah. Do we have anything else movie-wise or just check 'em wise before we jump into the news?
I feel like I had more stuff to say about Vampire too, but now I can't think of it.
Well, here's a question. So you played Vampire Masquerade. Sam, have you ever played?
I haven't.
Okay, so
I'm aware of it. I've watched Let's Players play it.
Okay,
put it that way.
So what's your favorite clan in Vampire, Cody?
I usually play Tremere, the blood wizard.
I understand being a vampire wizard is has a big appeal. Usually I would play Nosferatu just because I like to be an information broker and also be able to use animalism.
Yeah. What are the other classes, I guess?
So the short one, there's Ventrue, which is your standard Dracula vampire.
Okay.
They're kind of the most well-rounded, but kind of generic.
Mm-hmm.
There's Bruja. They're basically your anarcho-punk rockers.
Nice.
They're basically the main fighters. Then there's I guess...
That would be my second pick.
Yeah. Then there's the Gangrel, which is actually what the name of the wrestler is saying.
The wrestler, yes. I did know that Gangrel.
Yep. They are basically... If Bruja are the fighter class of Vampire Masquerade, then Gangrel are the barbarian.
Oh, gotcha.
But their thing is they live outside the city, and they're meant to basically be the wardens against werewolves.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they're very animalistic.
Yes.
The character wrestler Gangrel makes sense then because he was always just on the outside of being a popular wrestler.
Yeah.
There's actually this is getting cut. This is getting cut because I'm going to swear. I watch OSW reviews. They review old wrestling shows and stuff like that. In one episode, Gangrel showed up, and one of them just out of nowhere did the Bela Lugosi from Ed Wood. No one gives two shits for Gangrel. So yeah,
yeah. So it's basically those, and then there's your Tremere, which are basically the wizards of Vampire Masquerade. Toreadors are they're big into illusions, but they're attracted by the artisans.
I like that one too.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of special ones like La Sombra, which are pseudo Lovecraftian vampires that, use the shadows as their power source.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, as Cody mentioned, Malkavians, they basically are able to see past the veil of reality, so they can see various different things. Like, say, the camera we're looking at could, in our reality, be a giant cherry orchard tree.
Okay, you know what? The Wachowski siblings must be big fans of Vampire the Masquerade
I'm sure.
because in the second, I forget if he's in the third one, but in the second one, they introduced the Malkavian, who is like a Matrix vampire, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first, the Matrix also does, to a degree, borrow a little bit from Mage the Ascension at times.
Sure. Yeah.
They borrow everything from everything in the Matrix. That's what makes it neat.
It is, yeah.
They blend in a way that's unique and functional.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love in the new vampire game that Tremere has a move that will make another character's blood, like an enemy character's blood, start boiling. So they start yelling, which attracts everybody to them. And then they have another spell that makes the character explode into blood everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So you can pull everybody in with the blood boil
and then explode them.
Yeah.
But to get the explode to happen, you have to hit them once with something.
Okay.
So you'll hit them with that, and then you have to you have telepathy for some reason, which is kind of dumb. But
basically every vampire is a little different, but it's not just, hey, we're basically playing Grand Theft Auto with vampires. It's, hey, you're having to deal with the politics of all the other clans, which is what they call a class.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then you have to deal with, like, say, dealing with the monsters and then the anti-vampire organizations.
Mm-hmm. The production values in the game are very good, too. The character models and all the characters look really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, stupid joke question. What class would you pick if you were building a Twilight-style sparkle vampire?
Thin Blood.
Thin Blood.
I was going to say Toreador.
No, they're thin bloods because they're not that affected by daylight like the other vampires are, and their power set is real minuscule compared to the standard.
Gotcha.
I don't know, Edward's still pretty strong.
Yeah,
and
he's a late gen vampire. Like basically, the way you determine how strong your vampire is you have a generation. So basically, the more points you spend, the further the earlier generations you are, so you have more power. But
gotcha.
A thin blood is you are like the brand new.
You were just turned kind of situation.
Basically, your blood essence is so low that you have the least amount of power.
You are a thrall that has recently turned into basically. Okay, interesting.
And certain vampires will actually make it a point to remove all thin bloods.
Gotcha.
The worst part in the game when you have to play is that detective too. He has a completely different power set than your main character.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all like social moves that would be really cool on their own if it was a separate game.
Yeah.
But to be suddenly exploding people's blood out of their body and then come to a screeching halt, and now I have to
interview people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, you still have to walk through the open world as the detective, but you can't use all your fun traversal stuff that you have as the other guy.
Right.
Do you think it would work better if you were able to have at least some customization on the detective character as well? Like, they give you the social stuff because you have to have it for the plotline, but you can pick an extra ability or two that makes it a little more unique. Would that work a little better with it?
Or maybe if you got to choose when you played as which one, like in Alan Wake 2 does. There's 2 characters in that game, and it's up to you when you want to play as which one.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah,
because that would make a lot of sense. Because sometimes you do want to sit down and take it slow and play what's essentially a point and click adventure game.
You kind of have to balance out the two so that you get the full information and so to progress in the game.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Okay,
I would like that because Vampire is not just a game of, okay, you put all these points into combat magic. It's like, no, you can put a ton of points into just resources and just have organizations that'll back you, clientele, bases, all that kind of stuff.
Well, it sounds almost a little bit like Cyberpunk. The tabletop. A little bit.
I've played the tabletop, actually.
Oh, you have?
Yes. I played it right when COVID was, happening 5 years ago.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember playing that and did a demo for it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was a nice, simple D6 system, but we were basically playing tenants in an apartment complex that was about to get taken over, and the party decided to fight back and try and keep the apartment complex.
Okay, so it's like a reverse the raid.
Yeah. Well, but they're also, as I described,
or Dread.
Yes, actually, probably a little bit more like Dread because I made it a very die-hard scenario.
Nice.
I miss the computer stuff that the original Vampire had too. They took all that out in the sequel because you play as a super old vampire and also a 1920s vampire, so neither of them really know how computers work.
I mean, it would make sense if you're playing a La Sombra because they're basically allergic to technology. Like technology a computer would just straight up just turn off if La Sombra showed up here.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
But in the first game, you could actually use the computers, and you typed in DOS prompts.
Oh, really?
Stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Huh. All right. Anything else before we jump over?
That's all I've got.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right into the news.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
The bank robber had webbed feet. All right, so let's talk about some stuff here. Where do we want to start? Do we want to keep going with some of the Stranger thing because that's kind of horror based?
Sure.
So, the Stranger Things.
I don't know. It's not the scariest thing we have.
Maybe not. No, there's actually a pretty scary one right at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Not to bury the lead.
But we'll definitely get there.
It might be the next thing we talk about. But no, the Stranger Things season 5 is the finale, I believe. It's the last season, and the finale is going to be played in theaters as well as home media. I think that's really cool. They did the same thing with the Downtown Arby's.
The several Downtown Arby's. Well, the new ones are just movies.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. But, I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I honestly think the show is a little long in the tooth at this point. They maybe could have ended it a year or two ago. Or they could have done their original idea where every season was its own standalone thing. Because that was the original plan before season 1 blew up so big that they had to reuse the cast over and over.
Yeah.
And people love that cast.
People love that cast, yeah.
Long. The teeth were so long,
just
like vampire teeth.
That's it, exactly. Yay!
Or Dracula teeth.
Dracula teeth, yes. I love it in Venture Brothers when they said Dr. Orpheus had a Dracula medal.
Yeah, because he does.
Because he does. He has a Dracula medal, like he won the Dracula events, But no, I think that's really cool that it's going to theaters. I hope that it's a satisfying ending and not like a wet fart.
I feel like it might be.
It very well might be. Again,
It might, because the problem is last season they fought a literal god from D&D. It's like, where do you top it aside from time travel or space?
Two D&D gods.
And it's been so long too. It's gonna be hard to get people to invest again. I feel like I almost didn't watch the last season until people started talking about how good it was. I'm like, well, okay.
Well, you twisted my arm.
Yeah.
Okay, so next thing, this is actual real life, actual scary. So TwitchCon was last weekend. TwitchCon is a big convention out in California that used to be for fans to meet their favorite pseudo celebrities.
They're Oshi.
But for I've actually listened to a couple people's accounts of what it's like now, just like on its own, and they say basically it's for the actual pseudo celebrities on Twitch to meet brands. Like it's the fandom is played down significantly.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but no, in this one, this season
on Twitch.
This season
which
on Twitch
kind of is,
it is kind of the way it goes.
There's a revolving cast of characters.
It kind of does, but there is a large Twitch streamer named Emaru. She started doing like cosplay streams and stuff, like still does cosplay streams.
She looks like a witch cursed a porcelain doll to be alive.
Yes, kinda. Yeah. I am only tangentially aware of her stuff. I've never sat and watched one of her actual streams, but YouTube,
no, but I know of her.
YouTube Shorts spits out a lot of her like stuff, and she's collaborated with a bunch of people. I think she's actually part of a network, or part owner of a TKO network. OTK, that's the ones. Right. OTK, that's it.
She at least used to be. I don't know if that's still a thing or what. I don't know. I don't keep up with it that much.
Again, tangential. But during a meet and greet photo op session, Twitch security really beefed it by allowing just some random guy to run up during a photo op and try to kiss her.
Just give her a big old non-consensual smooch.
Yeah, and that is a serious, amazingly serious security breach. Because what if the guy had more nefarious things in mind? What if he was out to injure someone? It's unreal. And TwitchCon hasn't had a sparkling record to begin with. There was a streamer a while back who, I guess they had a ball pit. They had like
a foam pit.
A foam pit. Like it was like a ball pit, but they had like square foam or whatever.
And there wasn't enough foam in that. Pit.
And the design had a nice metal pipe running all the way down the middle of it. Ooh. And this streamer jumped in and broke her back. Had to have surgery. Big, huge thing. I think they ended up settling out of court for it, but like it was a whole problem. It sounds like every year TwitchCon gets a little worse and a little less secure.
Yeah, and the security guard that did stop the guy wasn't TwitchCon staff. It was Emaru's own personal hire.
Yes.
And not even her top tier security pick, because previous years something kind of like this had happened, and her security guard that she had hired held the guy down until the police came.
Jeez.
And Twitch got mad about that and banned her security guard from ever coming back.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's incredibly dumb. Wow. That,
initially the guy that did it this time was the punishment that Twitch had decided, 30-day ban from twitch.tv, the website.
That's nothing.
Yeah, Emaru's management had to come back and be like, you got to do something more than this.
Yeah.
And then Twitch eventually went, okay, he's banned from the event and the website both forever.
Yeah. And I have heard that she is seeking,
yeah, she's pressing charges.
Yeah.
Which, do that.
Absolutely do that. But, it just really shows Twitch... I mean, we're on Twitch, and I don't want to be like, "Hey, these guys suck," but they seriously need to look deeper into their standards and practices, especially in real life situations.
Well, they leave it to their own users to moderate their own chats. So,
that's true.
So they can't even
They're
moderate
kinda
a live
hands-off.
event.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what do you think is going to change about TwitchCon next year because of this? Because I'm guessing not much.
Not much.
Not
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
many times did it take people rushing the stage at the Game Awards for Jeff to do something?
Oh, jeez. But you know what?
Oh.
At least in that case, it got him talking.
Yeah.
It got him talking about the Game Awards because otherwise, it's just Jeffy's game show.
Yeah.
It's not like they can't afford to properly secure these events too. They've got
they have
Amazon money.
Yeah. Listen, PAX has dipped a bit over the years in things, and they do a significantly better job with
You
their
never
security.
hear about stuff happening there.
You never hear about it. Yeah. So I don't understand why
I like how
this
that's
happened.
PAX has outlived Penny Arcade almost.
It
Like,
Yes.
like they still make that comic, but nobody I don't hear
reads it.
anybody talking
Yeah.
about it.
webcomics kind of as a whole has kind of dropped off a bit.
Yeah, it's
hasn't
kind of
it?
a shame.
I
Yeah.
know Scott Kurtz has transitioned fully to graphic novels and young adult readers about his D&D characters.
He was in Columbus for Cartoon Crossroads, apparently.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
I would, you know what? He's a controversial guy. He has some opinions that maybe aren't the best. Not like
I don't-
serious ones, but like
I don't care for how he treated Chris Strom.
No,
so...
I don't either. But it would still be kind of nice to meet the guy because I used to listen to their Webcomics Weekly podcast. It was him and Chris Straub and
Brad Geiger.
Brad Geiger and Dave Kellett. Dave Kellett, the guy who does Sheldon. And that show was great because they seemed like they were all really good friends. I even met Brad Geiger before. I have a piece of art hanging up in the house of his. But yeah, no, it's weird that webcomics were such a big thing there for about 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
And now they've all kind of gone by the wayside. Although I don't look at the Webtoons app with their stuff. I'm sure it's still really big.
And that
I'm not
feels like
saying
a different thing
It
for some
does.
reason. I don't know.
It does. The Webtoons thing almost feels like it is. It's people are still making their webcomics and trying to get out there, but it almost seems like it's a test bed for transferring those ideas to other media.
Right.
Because wasn't Sweet Home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of anime too.
A bunch of
that
anime
were...
stuff that came from Webtoons. Well, wasn't One Punch Man? Maybe not like the actual Webtoons, but it was part of one of those collective things when it first started.
Yeah, I mean, I used to want to be a webcomics guy so bad.
Oh, I did too. And
look what happened.
Well, we're still on the internet.
True.
Right.
We are on a local radio station. Not many people could say that, All right, so a couple other things here. Cody, you found this one. Mario is getting a Macy's Day Parade balloon.
This Thanksgiving, Mario, for his 40th birthday, is getting a Macy's Day Parade balloon, which, it's about time. I feel like he should have had one before Sonic did.
You would think so.
Yeah. He'd be a culturally significant enough figure that he warrants.
Yeah. Although, if they were basing on, non-game media for the balloon, what other ones would they have? Would they make a giant inflatable Lou Ferrigno, Captain Lou Albano?
Yeah.
Will they play the Do the Mario song as they march down the street?
Oh,
People are going to be swinging their arms from side to
side.
Yeah.
I wonder how they'll do how they'll dress up the people holding the balloon. If they'll probably dress like the employees at Super Nintendo World,
Probably.
Universal
Yeah,
do.
Probably. I bet the dancers are going to be multicolored folks in overalls, like dance overalls.
Right.
Because there's always like a dance break or something like that with those. Yeah, I don't know. It's really cool that they're finally getting a balloon.
It just feels like it's about time.
It's about time.
And if there was a Mario balloon when I was a kid in this parade, I would have lost my mind.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I remember how big a deal it was when Pikachu got in it.
Yeah.
And it seems like if Pikachu was in it, Mario's should be there. Will they have a mascot Donkey Kong?
They should.
Trundling about.
They should.
I wish they kind of would have did something more interesting with the design. It looks like Cape Mario flying without the cape.
Yeah.
They should have. Honestly, they should have put the wing cap from Mario 64
That would have
on
been
him.
better.
That would have looked good.
Yeah, that would have been better.
And it wouldn't have been too busy like the cape would have been too much.
Yeah, the cape, yeah, I'm sure they probably thought about it and tried to see, okay, can it be an inflatable cape? No, that's a bit extreme. Can it be a cloth cape? No, because unless there's really strong wind, it's not going to flap. And if there's strong wind, the balloon's also just going to take off. Wasn't it like back in the early 90s that the Garfield balloon like either started to float away because they couldn't hold on to it, or like deflated halfway through or something like that? There was like some balloon.
A Sonic balloon popped once.
That's what it was.
Okay.
That's what it was. A Sonic balloon popped. That's it. Yeah.
And their rings exploded all over the place.
Yeah. He couldn't even grab one of them. Yeah. Okay, so what else do we got here?
The Simpsons are coming to Fortnite, I guess. They're teasing the Simpsons really heavily in Fortnite. Josh is the one that knows about Fortnite.
Josh would be the one.
He's not here.
This might have to come back next week, but this is fresh, so let's talk about it.
Right now, a cell shaded tree has popped up in one specific location.
Okay.
Of the map that's I guess is going to keep growing into like the treehouse tree. I guess.
Oh, interesting. So if you're going to get a playable Homer, is he going to be super buff like they had to do with Peter?
I hope not. I don't think so.
Okay,
like
he's a little more human shaped.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. But no, I mean, hey, Fortnite has become Ready Player One at this point, where every media that's ever existed is going to end up in it somewhere.
It only makes sense that the Simpsons show up at some point.
In 20 years, we're going to be playable in Fortnite. They're gonna run out of ideas, and they're gonna be like, okay, mid-tier podcasters from Central Ohio, now's your time to shine.
But it's the rumor going around, I guess, is that the map is going to turn into Springfield, which that would be cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I wonder how big of a Springfield will it be? Like you're gonna get a Quickie Mart.
Yeah,
right?
Quickie Mart, you'll get the house.
You'll get the house. Well, you get
the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the nuclear plant.
The nuclear plant is a big one.
You get the Matlock Expressway.
Oh, I wonder if they'll put in a monorail.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
May as well go all the way.
Yeah. Monorail.
It's more of a Shelbyville idea.
Yeah. Oh, will one of the emotes be a shrub is going to appear in front of Homer and he slowly slides out and then slides back in?
Yeah, it just phases it out into it.
Yeah. Will they exchange the Chug Jug for like a donut or a Duff beer? It can't be a Duff beer.
It'll be a Buzz Cola.
It'll be a Buzz Cola. That's it. That's the one.
Well, they'll just import the map from Simpsons Hit and Run.
I just saw someone apparently did a mod of that and turned it into Futurama.
Oh, really?
Cool.
Yeah, it was
that's really
dope.
Cool. Has Futurama been in Fortnite?
I think so.
Okay, well then, Simpsons definitely should fit then. Why? Yeah.
Now we just need Disenchantment and then all the Matt Groenings.
Then all of them in there. Well, those
Life
bunnies.
is Hell has
Life
to be
is Hell
in
bunnies.
it too.
Yeah. I mean, based on the first season of The Simpsons, they're already there because wasn't the Groening's thing was that Marge had bunny ears
under her hair? Yeah, originally.
For that first season, she was secretly a Life is Hell bunny.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No. I'm glad that didn't stick.
Kind of just like how Krusty was originally going to secretly be Homer, but that didn't work
because
either.
they look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I love how they put a button on that when Homer became like the Krusty party guy who they sent out.
That's a good when he goes to clown college. That's a good episode.
Goes to clown college, and when they
I'm not gonna let you hold me back anymore. I'm going to clown college. Oh, nobody expected him to say that.
That reminds me of the other one where Homer goes to college.
Homer goes to college.
Homer goes to college, and he tells the family, "Yeah, they're sending me to college for this." And Bart laughs and goes, "College, barber or clown?" I actually wrote a college dissertation on that episode.
Nice.
We had a class where it was depictions of college in popular media, and everyone was picking like things like How High, the Red Man and Method Man movie, Animal House, stuff like that. And I picked that episode because it is almost the antithesis of that.
Yeah,
because Homer, it goes to it expecting the Wild Party movie version of college, and it's actually played really straight.
Yeah.
It's actually played really, really like an actual college setting that Homer, by his presence, eventually morphs into the movie version of it. Yeah,
I love when
found
he
that really
just screams out of his car, the nerd!
Oh yeah. Okay. We got time for maybe one more here.
That Simpsons news story was a great vehicle for us to just make Simpsons references.
You know
for
what?
10 minutes.
Sometimes you just need that springboard. You know. Yeah.
I will remember that for any time there's Simpsons news to put it on the board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So one more. I'll let one of you guys pick. We got a couple to choose from here.
Sure. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn, the movie, is they're starting filming? Is that what the news was?
They're going to start filming in 2026.
Okay.
But it was also an announcement that it's officially been greenlit and it's actually happening. Because up until this point, it was being bandied about. It was like, we've been looking at directors, we've been looking at actors, but for the most part, nothing's been perfect, real about it. Horizon Zero Dawn, it would be a good. They would have to truncate the story significantly.
Yeah.
But
I think they just need to cast Ashley Birch and have her get buff.
Yeah, well,
to play Aloy.
She's already kind of buff.
Yep.
But yeah, I would love for them to do that. But they're going to cast someone that looks like Aloy. But I take that back. They're going to cast someone who looks like that AI.
Yeah, the
fix
hotter version
of when the angry internet gamer bros were like, "Oh, this character, she's not hot. Let me go fix it."
Have you seen the one for Atsu in Ghosts of Yotei?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
where
have,
it's just like her boobs are out.
That is rotten.
Yeah.
Because Erika Ishii is a very pretty woman.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyway. They're very pretty anyway. I hope the movie's good, but
if you look at Erika Ishii and don't find her attractive, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
I feel like, regardless of what your gender is,
regardless of gender, because she doesn't care about gender, because they don't care about gender.
You can do she's she they.
She is she
you
they.
You can use either one.
I try to be. I try to be. That's getting cut. But who would you cast if you can't get Ashley Birch and get her buff with red hair?
Hunter Schafer. She can't be Zelda. They won't let her be Zelda, so have her be Aloy.
That's not bad. That's not bad. See, the problem is I don't know a lot of young actresses that
me either. That's why
that can pull it off. Yeah, or just in general.
I just thought she's kind of like a strawberry blondie red color.
Yeah.
And I've seen Hunter Schafer with that color hair, I think.
And it would work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I'll take it. That's fine.
I mean, she's not super buff for the role, but Aloy's pretty stocky though too.
Everybody can get a little buff. I mean, look at Chris Pratt.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think all of his common sense and comedy was stored in the fat.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great as Peter Quill, but just look at anything outside of his actual opinions on things. Yeah, I think the common sense was stored in the fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. His character on Parks and Rec was so funny.
I wish that was just his real life. His real persona.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not him.
Not quite the case. Burt Macklin.
FBI.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Putting him with Aubrey Plaza, because he was like the golden retriever, the big himbo,
and the black cat,
right.
Just messing around. Yeah.
She should play the black cat.
Yes.
In Spider-Man.
She should.
Yes.
She should. That would be really good.
Not a traditional casting, I would think, for that, but I think she would do it.
I think it would work really well. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think with that, we've gone ahead and hit time, so we should go ahead and wrap things up. Parker, thanks again for being on the show, man.
My pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. We'll have to get you back on sometime other than a spooky month.
Maybe do an end of the year kind of a show.
Absolutely. You know what? We're putting it in the books. We're putting it out there, which means it's going to happen. End of the year, we'll get you back.
I still think we need to do an end of the year awards show.
We can certainly try.
The only problem is that would take a lot of prep work, but I think we should actually try to do it.
Prep work is... I'm allergic to prep work for this show.
All the prep work we do is a half an hour before we hit go live.
Maybe just do like a general best and worst of what came out this year that we saw.
I think we could do that.
It'd be funny if we all wore tuxedo T-shirts.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. I'm in. I'm in. All right. So you have been listening to Nerd Overload. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can find us each and every day over at nerdoverload.com. You can also check out all of our social medias. It's also there at nerdoverload.com. That's Twitter, Twitch. Well, not Twitter. I take that back. I'm going to start that over because Josh doesn't say that anymore. He just does the email.
Email.
Doesn't he? Okay. Yeah. You can also email us at staff@nerdoverload.com if you have any comments or just things you want to nib in about the show. You can get a hold of us there.
You can give us a call. Let me start that over. My voice got all froggy in the middle of it. You can give us a call on the Nerd Overload hotline. The number for that's 412-345-1413. Start putting in your nominations for the best of the year show.
Yeah, we're going to have to start planning now because, 3 months out. So, yeah, do that. You can find all of our back episodes on various podcast apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. We stream on Twitch. We're doing it now. We're doing it now. We're doing it now at this point. And finally, I'd like to thank Parker again.
Thank you once again.
Coming on the show and helping us find some news for the program. And David Pencil for our intro and outro. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week.
Yabble dabble.
Parker, do you want to give the pizza out?
Oh.
Come on. You can do it. Okay, I'm going to count you down. Ready?
It's like, so just pizza out.
Pizza out.
All right. Pizza out.
Yeah, all right. Save that. So we're still live on Twitch.
Yeah.
But,
okay, awesome.
But no, that was a great show, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah, seriously.
Made with Love and Swear Words has put a dancing dinosaur in the chat.
Good.
It's very
good.
nice.
That's
awesome.
That's Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that's Jordan. But this was great. I don't know what else to say. This was a really good one. We should spend more time congratulating ourselves on what a good job we've done.
Good job, guys.
But yeah, I very serious about the end of the year thing. We'll have to. I'll have to actually watch the media from this year, which doesn't happen much. But I'll figure that out. But yeah, we absolutely should. So there's a chance we may not be streaming next week. I know, Cody, you're going to be giving out candy. I might be neck deep in moving a medical office from one building to another.
Fun.
Every time I go in, they're adding more and more things for me to do. I'm half expecting them to cancel the movers at this point.
Just have you do the whole thing.
Well, I'm already going in to run wire through the walls and transport all of our work PCs and equipment for the bedrooms and wiring all that up. We start Wednesday, and it has to be done by Sunday. An entire medical lab. Now, thankfully, it's like 10 minutes away. So it's like, it's not that bad. But I'll tell you guys off mic why this is, I don't think it's going to happen. But anyway, I don't know. Got anything else? Anything too spicy for the radio?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Well, when I stream again, probably later next week, I'll probably just start Ninja Gaiden 4 over again.
Probably a good idea. Yeah. We'll have to work out some of the kinks on that one. It
was a really cool game, though. I liked what I played of it.
Yeah. No, what I saw of it looked really cool. Because I did tune in while I was sitting at work. I had to keep the audio like prety low because I had.
If you hadn't, then we would have known that my mic wasn't on for the first 10 minutes.
Well, sure. Well, sure. Yeah, you got a point there.
Right.
And my mic was on because the lip flap was working on the PNG.
Yeah, I did see that.
It was just I didn't have the audio input turned on in OBS.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, you'll have that.
It's always 500 little things. It's crazy. I do have dual monitor setup now, though.
Hey, there we
go.
go.
So it makes it a lot easier.
You're getting there. Jordan says that they had cottage cheese for dinner. That's great. Eat something more substantial, maybe. Cottage cheese, while delicious, maybe not. It's more of a side.
I had chicken noodle soup.
Nice. I had a bowl of cereal, and I might go grab
what
something.
Cereal?
A Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Good choice.
We didn't grow up with it, but it is my go-to these days. I think it's just the right amount of sweetness. I love cinnamon, and it makes the milk taste extra good.
It does.
When you're drinking it at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Let's talk about food. Oh, and with crackers. Oh, well, that makes it so much better, Jordan. I mean, that's a meal. That's a dinner of champions right there.
Right.
Favorite cereal.
Favorite cereal. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's the one I can have for any occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Double chocolate Kellogg's Crave.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Growing up, we had, I got Fruit Loops a lot.
Yeah.
Apple Jacks. I actually loved Apple Jacks.
Oh, good.
I mean, those little nubbins on the O's would sometimes cut the roof of my mouth.
Right.
But otherwise, that was really good.
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles was really good.
Cinnamon Life was also good.
Sure.
Life sucks. Sorry.
But the cereal
also sucks.
Yeah.
There's not enough sugar. There's no sugar, actually.
Well, you know what? My dad used to eat a bunch of Wheaties, but we would put like 3 spoonfuls of sugar on top of it,
Right.
completely defeating the purpose.
Of the Wheaties.
Yeah.
And same thing with plain Cheerios. Sometimes we would just have plain Cheerios, but we would scoop so much sugar on top of that shit.
I like Golden Grahams.
Golden Grahams
is one of my favorites.
Yeah. It is.
How do they cram all that gram?
It came out for Halloween a couple years ago, but I think it's actually just on the market now. It is chocolate Lucky Charms, where it's chocolate cereal with the Lucky Charms.
That is just Count Chocula.
Yeah,
it is.
It really is.
I think Count Chocula ought to take Lucky the Leprechaun to court.
Take him out back.
Take him out back.
Yeah, convert him. You know.
Yeah. Sire him. My cereal child.
Oh my God.
Okay, last question. Moving off of cereal, but food mascots. There's so many of them, and so many of them are stupid. But what are some of your favorites? I'm a big Chester Cheetah guy.
The Grimace.
The Grimace is a good one.
Yeah.
2 arms or 4 arms?
2.
2. Okay. Yeah.
The dumb Grimace too.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the villainous. Not
Yeah.
the villain Grimace. How about his relative Uncle O Grimacy? The
Good.
the Shamrock Shake.
He
Grimace?
looks horrifying,
Right.
and
He's
I like
terrible.
I
He
like
looks
that about
He
him.
looks like a giant booger with a leprechaun hat on. Yeah.
I made an emoji of him on my phone.
Nice. Nice.
I've never used it.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it. I think the Halloween
Hamburglar, yeah, George's right. Hamburglar rule.
Yep. But no, I think the Halloween trio or I guess it's a quartet now because they have Camilla Carmel,
that's right.
the Frankenstein DJ.
Yeah, except they didn't use her this year.
They didn't. No, they just.
She got 2 years, and then now she's gone.
And then gone.
I would have loved to see, because they have the Jim Henson puppet versions of them on the box this year.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see a Carmella Creeper puppet.
NECA Toys has put out actual, really posable action figures of Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and Frankenberry.
I have the Count Chocula and the Boo Berry, but I don't have, the Frankenberry, but I don't have Boo Berry.
Boo Berry, yeah. I miss Fruit Brute. The werewolf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mummy was good.
Yummy Mummy was
good too.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't care for the Trix Rabbit.
Nah.
Yeah.
He could just go to the store. Why's he got to menace those kids? Also, Trix, not a lot of flavor in him.
I feel bad for I feel bad for the Cocoa Puffs bird because he has a serious problem.
Mac Tonight. I would pick Mac Tonight, except it has some very bummer connotations, political connotations.
4chan kind of ruined him, unfortunately.
Yeah. You know that was Doug Jones, friend of the show, Doug Jones.
Yeah.
In the original commercials.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you go back and watch some of those old commercials, you could tell because he has the big, long, spooky fingers. He's practically 2-dimensional because he's so tall and thin.
Right.
But yeah. No, you can't legally be a fan of Mac Tonight.
Right.
These days. Okay. Lucky the.
You can be just a fan
I thought
of the specific animatronic of
the
Mac
animatronic
Tonight
head.
that's in Florida.
Yes. Yes, there we go. I like that. Would you count Max Headroom as a food mascot since he
was a Coke mascot? Yeah.
He advertised Coke
counts.
Zero or not Coke Zero, but Coke, New Coke.
Oh, that's the second worst thing about. Actually, the third, because second is the drink itself.
Oh, sure.
And first is the original spokesman.
Oh, I forgot to bring my Jolt Colas.
Oh yeah. Oh
I,
shoot.
I
Yeah,
got
we'll
us
have to-
Jolt Colas to try on the show as a fun gimmick.
Oh man. Next up, you'll find me try to find some Tab.
Oh man.
Take
a step back from that deep dive.
my dad still has a sixer of Billy beer, the Billy Bush beer. It's still in the plastic like thing, and they've never been drank. They'll never be drank.
Right.
But yes, he does have a pack of Billy beer in the basement somewhere. I remember finding those, and I was like, "Hey, what's this?" He goes, "It's a gimmick."
Don't worry about it.
Then
Yeah,
it's
don't worry
every
about
athlete that did wrestling that did Wheaties. Okay, yeah, for the mascots.
Yeah. Wheaties
Yeah.
just had the mascots. You know what? We're forgetting Furry's favorite,
Tony
Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, it's probably Tony. That's probably the
Yeah.
safe one. That's still good.
There's a Drawfee episode where they took cereal mascots, food mascots, and updated them. And like Nathan did like an actual like Nosferatu style Count Chocula.
Yes.
And he
munch on it.
he made him
Crazy
hold
style.
a large goblet with the cereal in it, so it looks like he's holding like the Dracula from Castlevania, like have at you. But Karina, who does a lot of the animal type art and whatnot, did an update on Tony the Tiger, who is a VTuber who has bits of. You spend bits to put new costumes on them, and people kept calling him Daddy. Yeah. Oh, it's one of the better episodes.
Tony did do a VTuber stream one time.
And I think that's the joke that they went with, was that, it went so poorly that what if he kept going? He's like a single dad who has to do this to support his family, and it's like she drew him with like a maid's costume on, and it's like, well, thank you for the 10 bits.
They're great.
You're great. Yeah. No. Michael Jordan was the mascot for Wheaties for like forever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but he was also just one of those true.
He was one of the biggest athletes of all time.
Yeah. He still got to be like, if he's not top 5, he's solid top 10.
Okay, last one.
All right.
Thoughts on the Burger King? The current Burger King.
I like Creepy Burger King.
Creepy King?
I will still never forget that time that there were 3 Xbox 360 tie-ins.
Yes, Creep King was my favorite.
Yeah, Sneak King.
Sneak King.
That was just like, wow, this is...
It's a halfway decent game, especially for the price.
For the price.
For a gimmick game, yeah.
Yeah. No, I do like the Creepy King. I like those commercials where it was like someone waking up and he's just standing there looming over them with that permanent smile on his mask and just hands them a breakfast sandwich and then disappears.
The Sugar Smacks frog, his name's Diggum.
Diggum.
And it's Honey Smacks now.
Yeah. I know, Jordan, you don't like the Burger King. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. Anyway, I'm going to hear about that this weekend.
Yeah.
I might hear about that in about 10 minutes.
Ouch.
Well, before I dig myself a deeper hole, we should probably go ahead and end the stream here. Parker, dude, thanks again for coming on, man.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you back on. So until next time. Oh, we gotta do the thing. So we all point at the camera. Point at the camera while I try to end the show. Is it gonna end? And bye, guys.